Alright, I took a little break. It's the same day that I recorded my last video. What day is it? It's Thursday, but I'll probably just post this on Monday. I have my bird here, so we'll see how this goes. I want to talk about what I wanted to kind of get a little deeper into with regards to hip-hop, but I want to look at the bigger scale of things where it's the poisoning of the mind and the people and the systems, right? And overall, the best way to control people, I feel, is to overly identify them with their cultures. I think it's human nature, it's not the spiritual nature, but it's the human nature to want to relate, right? And to want to understand. And that is part of the soul's journey, right? To experience this short human life and kind of gather the DNA of your people, right? Of your what you've learned through your family lineage and your heritage and your community and all of that, because it gives you a deeper understanding of the soul's plight for everyone. And understanding that we all come from the same source, and understanding that we've all experienced similar things in different ways, it dissolves that miscommunication, I feel. It dissolves any sort of anger or frustration or resentment or misunderstanding, because you do understand. You see it from a higher perspective. And so what I think is kind of happening is they're trying to overly apply these sections of beliefs or differences in people so that they can weaponize it. They can use it against people. And then they infiltrate it and weaponize it in that way as well. So they go through all different methods to do this. I also think about how the military, they recruit people early on, right? And intelligence groups, they recruit people early on. And I'm talking, they're watching you from the day that you're born. And they'll go find you if you're in a public school system and test you and try and privately recruit you that way as well. So they're breeding people that'll either just temporarily do the work for them so they can get ahead of creating these destructive things that kill humanity, that kill the soul's journey, right? They're breaking when you're murdered, and that's not part of your path, that's just a possibility of what's supposed to happen. You're being cut off from that particular life cycle, right? And so they need people who are going to willingly do that for them. And so it breeds a certain culture. Just like the military breeds a culture of higher ups and higher ups and higher ups that love war. Everyone does, but there are some sickos that are there, right? Just like regular civilians, it's the same thing. There's like sickos in regular life. So they're trying to breed all kinds of people in different ways to do this for them. With hip-hop was another way of strengthening the Black community. I'm gonna say it's the Black community because during the time of hip-hop, the creation of I'm acting as if I know a lot about hip-hop. This is from my readings, my personal readings, not for anybody else, but this is stuff that I gathered, so hopefully I'm accurate with this. I don't really know a hip-hop culture other than what's in my mind. So this is all not research based at all, so I apologize for that, but just so we're clear on this. So hip hop was created as a culture of a predominantly black community because segregation still existed. It was still new. Hold on. I hear my cat. No. Here. Okay. I'm bilingual. I also meow. And she's coming in here. Anyway. Trilingual. Because I talk to my... Well, what would be 4 languages? Either way. Ma'am, do you mind going, please? Okay. Oh, Lordy. Where was I? So, the hip-hop community was a culture that was created that was once again a form of perseverance through their struggles. It was struggles that were placed on them in a different form of oppression. Before, the predominant oppression was slavery. They were enslaving them, and so it was physical abuse. Now that they were able to uprise through the systems to have those freedoms, like liberties, equal liberties that were unequal, they were still treated unequal because these predominantly the white people, they were psychologically abused to have their own systems of oppression. So they were spiritually oppressed, is how I see it. Is the spirit, predominantly the spirit of the black community, they were spiritually strong. They had to persevere in that way. Now, I'm talking about the white community with the racist, the predominantly the people in power. They were spiritually abused, psychologically abused. So they persevered through work, I guess, right? Through just survival, right? And so that's how they're constantly playing them against each other, playing these groups of people, the majority of them against each other. And then once black people were free, essentially, they toxified them with drugs and with experiments. And they're doing this on both sides, right? They're experimenting on the white people. They're drugging the white people. You know, they're using them for their own bidding to become part of the counterintelligence. So they're creating that within the white community as well in a different way. So concentrating, because we've been concentrating on black people this whole time, is that they created hip-hop. They created a way to explain what was happening with them, just like the jazz movement and all these other Motown and all that. There were movements, right? And music, as we know, is an extremely psychological tool, power tool. It's very, very strong, and it's absolutely infiltrated. Absolutely, because it's a way to brainwash people. So what happened with the hip-hop community? And what happened with the white community? Because it's blended now, right? Hip-hop isn't, it was founded by what was created here, but present day, it's everyone, it's every race, right? And when you think about the struggles that hip-hop talks about, like that kind of gangster lifestyle, that's all races, right? Because they're pushing everyone together. We've always been together. We've always been like that. But now we're all psychologically abused equally. We're all physically abused, right? And drugged. All of us. That was their method, right? And then anyone who speaks out, they come in and just like what they did with black people, right? Martin Luther King Jr. and all of them, all these people who try, and the women, right? And the women within the black community who were speaking out, they had their own discrimination against them. So it was like issues upon issues upon issues upon issues of something that could, because it's built off trauma, it's built off Satan, it's built off evil. So what did they do with the hip-hop community? They created a culture based off of things that they made, they infiltrated and created. So black people persevered through it, and then they recruit gangsters. I did a video on one of them. I did multiple of them. One of them's no longer here because that particular guy who's no longer here was a threat because he's too independent. He's too much of an independent thinker. And again, yeah, he if you go back, you'll see what I mean. I've mentioned him many times, but they want people who will be bought out and who are in it for themselves, right? Who will say, you know what, I don't care, you know, I'll do that if I get a taste of the good life. I'll keep this, you know, an issue. I'll keep this suppressed. I'll keep that identity of separation there. I will push that identity of separation. You know, because this is federally owned. We'll say it that way. Music isn't. It's you get it. I think I've already mentioned it, so I'm not going to keep talking about it. It's all rooted back to the same people because they recruit these intelligent people, and then because that's what they do, they kind of test you, right? They tell you something that's illegal, number one, and they try and blackmail you. Then they try and see where your morals lie. Then they'll keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until you're too far gone. And then you're like, oh, what do I do? Like, what are my options here? Or, hey, I like it. I like this violence. I like this stuff, you know? And then it starts having this resentment against people. Like, it gets really squirrely. Yeah, so I think I made myself clear enough about the origins of the hip-hop community and how it's being played against them again. And against them meaning, I'm gonna say really it's everyone. It is everyone in truth, but what they're trying to do is keep, you know, even with Black Lives Matter movement, all these things they're proven sponsored by the same sources. It's sponsored by the same sources because they want this illusion to be kept up. And they want to put in misinformation about how this all came about so that you blame innocent people. You know, when you go to war, it's the innocent people who die. Like, war is never the answer. It's never the answer. And people love that. Some people love that. But anyway, yeah, so one of the biggest manipulations on top of all of this is that over-identification with your culture. It's one thing to appreciate and honor and learn from it, but it's another thing to over-identify with it, because that cuts you off from your intuitive knowing of reincarnation, of equality of all souls, of understanding of all souls, and it keeps that separation permanent. It keeps people identifying with the struggles of their past and the struggles of their past on both ends, and keeps that relevant when it's irrelevant now. And it was actually irrelevant back then, because look at where it came from, right? It came straight from Satan. It came straight from Satan. And it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. I'm just thinking, so like, I'm just thinking, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? And you already talked about that, about how it, anyway, it's just, what do we do, really? Because it's so much easier to see it from this, I guess that's the purpose of one of the purposes of the Bible, right? I guess I need to read the Bible for real, but I already said I was going to read those other books, so, you know, I'll figure it out. I will read them, but anyway, that's it for now. Yeah, bye.